Hi, sports fans. That took some time, didn't it? Oh, what an intro. Welcome back, Formula One supporters, Formula One fans, Formula One... What else are you?
Aficionados.
Aficionados.
I'm going to throw aficionados at you.
It's a great word. It sounds even better in Australian as well.
Everything does. Everything does.
Debatable. Anyway,
Yeah.
My name's Dan. Alex is the Australian person. How are you?
I'm good. It's Monaco week. We've had the MSC Cruises Formula One made in Italy, Emilia Romagna thingy. That was decent enough. Eventually, we got there. I think we got to a decent point, and now it's time for that race.
The race.
That race.
The race of the calendar. It's just good. Monaco's great. I don't care what anybody says.
I think this is where we're going to have our first on-pod blow-up. This is going to be... We're into Barney time, number one. I get it. I get why it's still there.
We go.
I understand the history.
Then it's good enough. Move on. Monaco's great.
I want to enjoy a couple of hours of... I don't want an FP session on a Sunday, but we'll get to Monaco. We've got other things to talk about from last weekend first before we get to Monaco. Because, and I'm going to put a question to you.
Yes. I like questions. I'm ready for it. Hit me.
Are we back? Because it kind of feels like we're very back.
We are back. For how long we're back for, we don't know, but for a short while, 2 weeks, we've been back. Formula One's good again.
We're so back. We are so back. I mean, I don't want to get carried away, right? But I'm going to. We've had Max Verstappen not win a race, and now we've had Max Verstappen actually have to work hard. Yes, he won a race, but he had to push for that. And I dare say for once he might have actually broken a sweat and used seventh gear. And he's won by 0.7 of a second or something like that, which is perfect. Brilliant. Good driving all round, except from Checo Perez. And, a weekend happened and I enjoyed it.
It was, and I mean, Lando came out afterwards and he was like, give me another lap or two. And I reckon I'd been right up his chuff, I think. I'm paraphrasing, but I think that's kind of along those kind of lines. And to have, do you know what as well? That's kind of the first time really that we've actually heard kind of any confidence from any of these other drivers. I think all the while that we've had the build up to the season, everybody's kind of gone, yeah, we're there. And actually, probably deep down, you always knew the fact that they were quite a long way behind Red Bull until kind of teams had chance to get them out on track and figure out what was going on and see what Red Bull had done and copy it. And then you kind of make a package together and you kind of go, right, well, this will work. And it's essentially what McLaren have kind of done. And they've been the most successful at it so far. And it is just good. It's nice to see things that are more exciting than... Well, okay, here we go. Here's the barometer of it. When Max gets spoken about on a race broadcast, it's been a good race. When he doesn't...
We saw the Red Bull.
Yeah. When he doesn't, when you get to the end of the race and they go, oh yeah, Max has won, you go, oh, that race was terrible. There you go. There's your barometer on life.
Yeah, and I think to roll back to your point there about some positivity, from Lando Norris of all people, famously the most negative on himself driver on the grid, to be given at the big end. And I don't even think it's bollocks either. I think genuinely if the race had been 3 laps longer, I know that's not how racing works and someone will go, but if the race had been 3 laps longer, I absolutely think he would have found a way past him, because I think the only reason he didn't find a way past him in the laps provided was he had to push that extra 3% when he was already pushing 100%. So he did, and I think Marco came out and said, if it wasn't for the fact that Lando made a couple of slip-ups in the last few laps, he would have got us. And I think the only reason he made those slip-ups is because he was on the limit, because he had to be, because he had 3 laps left, where if he could have kept driving in that groove that he'd been in, hunting him down for the 10 laps prior, he gets past. Absolutely, he gets past.
I mean, he would have caught him. Whether he would have got past him or not is a bit subjective.
They might have ended up in the gravel. But.
Potentially. We do obviously know how powerful DRS can be, and it was quite difficult, wasn't it, at Imola, to actually get the last two corners right and actually then benefit from that DRS toe down that main kind of wiggly straight down towards Tamburello. So, I think he definitely would have been there. Whether he'd have been past him or not, I don't know. I mean, Max is very good, isn't he? Do you know he actually, after he won Imola, he then went home and raced on some form of simulator type racing thing and won some form of race on the same day?
That was mid-weekend. So he has a sim racing setup in his own motorhome at the track.
Right, okay, of course he does.
So he took a sim racing setup with him in order to do the 24 hours of something, I think between quali and the race. Won both, because why wouldn't he do that?
I was wrong, but still impressive.
You're sort of simultaneous. If anything, it's more impressive than what you thought it was. Like he jumped between cars. Like Behrman jumping from F2 to F1 mid-weekend.
I don't know what his driver stints were, but I've now got visions of him being up until 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, racing on iRacing round whatever circuit it was for the 24 hours, then kind of going, well, lads, sorry, I better log off now because I got to get a couple of hours kip it because I need to be on the grid in about 2.5 hours.
GP's yelling at me, so I've got to go.
Yeah, exactly. Mental. What a specimen.
Yeah, it was an interesting race as well, because we were just chatting before, and it was an interesting 2-part race where the first 2/3 of it, we were sort of on for a bit of a boring one, and then all of a sudden we sort of hit that second stage where Lando just found something and just started tearing after him.
Yeah.
But I think you made the point that it was actually ended up being quite a decent race, but not a lot really happened, and there's not a huge amount to take away from it.
I think, I think this could well be the last kind of talking point on Imola, to be honest. And it was a question that I've kind of posed to myself, and I don't actually know what the answer is. But you're right. When you think about it back, you go, it was a good race, but it can't possibly be more than about 6.5 out of 10 because not much actually happened. However, obviously, it's an old school circuit. It was laid out donkeys of years ago when cars were very different. It wasn't purpose built for these Formula One cars that we have now with the overtaking age that we have. And it kind of left me wondering, really, is do Formula One fans, or do you, or do I, kind of prefer those races that cars are driving in close proximity to one another for a long period of time but can't overtake because the straight isn't long enough, or the final corner wasn't set up in a way to allow someone to get a run, or whatever that, I think they were using that as an excuse for? Or do you prefer a circuit like an Azerbaijan or a Kota or a Shanghai, where they've just gone, well, we know no one's going to be able to overtake, so we're going to put a 3.5 kilometer straight in the back of it somewhere. And then you get kind of a Crofty, God rest his soul, kind of going, and through goes Norris. Oh, no, actually, he's completed the pass about 3 weeks before the corner. But you do get overtaking. But it doesn't really feel like overtaking because it's not really kind of any form of challenge, is it? Because it doesn't matter what exit you get from the previous corner, and it doesn't really matter what your entry is to the next corner's like, because the straight's 3 miles long and you just kind of cruise up behind them, overtake them, and carry on with your life. Thoughts?
Brazil. Every weekend. That's my thought.
Okay.
I think what Brazil does is what you're talking about we need to have there, because Brazil does a wonderful job of, there are a couple of points mid-lap that if you want to be brave, you can make a move. And to be fair, there's a couple of those in Imola. We saw a really nice move from Yuki at one point. I don't know exactly where it was, but he sort of caught someone around the outside through the chicane, or, and caught him by surprise, because you wouldn't necessarily usually go around the outside there. It was a move on Logan Sargent, so we won't get too carried away, but he made the move. But you get a couple of those in Brazil, and then there's a couple of those bits that they're essentially driving on a footpath.
Yeah.
And then you come into that last corner, which has had a bit of a technical section in the build-up to that.
Yeah.
And then it's that last corner that I distinctly remember last year, and I can't remember if it was in the sprint or in the actual race, but Fernando was taking a completely different line through that final corner. Was it Fernando and Checo maybe were going at it, weren't they, at the very end there?
Yeah.
And taking wildly different lines through the final corner, and it was having an impact.
Yeah.
And you were getting, it is a long, uphill drag straight, but it's built up in those couple of little sections before that, and then you get to a real tight turn at the top of the hill that there's dive bomb potential there. And so I just think we need like the last sector of Brazil incorporated into every track, and I think that solves all our problems.
Yeah, I think it's I'm on that same kind of path, because I don't enjoy the 1.5 kilometer straights that seems to get highlighted and spoken about so excitedly. I mean, there isn't much skill involved in that, is there?
No, at least in like Miami, for example, they have sort of fabricated that long straight down the back, and they've got there in a little bit of a stupid way, I suppose, but you have to get the chicane right, and then you very much have to get your exit out of that last left-hander right to benefit from the long straight, because otherwise you're going to get closer and closer with the DRS but not be able to get close enough. But if you can get real close to the wall without clipping it and get really good traction out of that, real slow speed section, you get rewarded with the straight. And I actually don't mind that, because that straight is not a Las Vegas gimme straight, where if you started 8/10 behind, you'll be 8/10 in front by the end of it. If you can kind of see on the timing chart, like, oh no, they started the end of that Miami straight. Oh no, he was 0.7 behind. He's not getting there. But then next time it's 0.65, and then all of a sudden that number seems to go down real quicker. So yeah, no, I don't mind a bit of timing chart watching as a form of excitement. I think that's where I enjoy F1 as a racing series, is that repetitive nature of like, I went round 5 miles of track 0.2 seconds faster than you did the last time round. And if I keep doing that, I'm going to pass you, but that's on me to not make a mistake. And I like that. So I quite like seeing those numbers get closer. But what I would then like, and we saw it a bit with Piastri, once I've earned that, I need to be able to get past in a reasonable amount of time and not have one opportunity on this lap or I'm not getting another one.
Yeah. Well summed up. Well summarised.
And, I mean, that leads on to something that I want to have another moan about, not for the first time this year. Would have been really nice if we could have seen some of that build-up and that battling. But the race broadcast TV director decided that we didn't need any of that. And if you're doing such a bad job that Karun Chandok, seemingly the nicest, most neutral man in the world, starts getting irritated on the broadcast and calling you out for it, be better. Let me see the action, please. Because there was a whole sequence with Piastri that we could only watch in the timing chart, because we were watching like an Alpine battle for P14 or something, 1.5 seconds behind, and it annoyed me. There we go. I've had my little moan for the day.
No, credit where credit's due. P14 is great for an Alpine.
Yes, very true. Very true. And it links on, I suppose, a little bit into one of the other cute things, and arguably one of the most wholesome bits of the weekend that we, unless you are a badger like me in the subreddit, wouldn't have known happened. Alex Albon has had an objective fucking stinker this weekend. Nothing's gone well for him in Imola. But he was, at multiple points, coaching Logan Sargent mid-race around Imola. There was some team radio where he was saying, hey, use this in this corner, try this brake balance in this corner, and this differential, which is so nice to see. And when Fernando did that for Lance Stroll, everyone lost their minds and, oh my God, Fernando's the greatest bloke in the world. No one else would do that.
Yeah.
Someone else has done that. And we didn't know unless people have pulled that out from the F1 TV logs and shared it afterwards. Get it in there for me. Get that team radio in there for me. That's all I need, because that's a really cute thing. Logan's dead, and yet Alex is still there mouth to mouth trying to revive him.
What a great way to finish that kind of conversation about Imola.
And that's Imola.
That's it.
There it is. And now Fantastic. It's Monaco. And I'll let you start on Monaco because you're very pro Monaco.
I love Monaco. I am the no. It's just. Do you know what I like about it? I like history. Maybe not all history, because not all history is good. But I think I've said this a couple of times before. But I love the fact that you can talk about a circuit that has been raced on through so many different generations. And you can talk about, oh, this is the moment where Schumacher did this, or let's have a look at this highlight of Senna on this qualifying lap. And you go, oh, what did it look like in the 50s when it didn't have the... And I love that. And I love the fact that we can talk about Max Verstappen and Stirling Moss and Fangio and Schumacher and Senna and Hamilton all in the same sentence. And that's what I like about it. I don't particularly care the fact it's all glitzy and glamoury and there's mega super $1 million yachts and people are wandering around in clothes that I've never heard of, let alone been able to afford or anything like that. I couldn't give a toss about that side of it, to be honest with you. But I love the history. I love the nostalgia. I love the fact it's not really changed. I will concede that the cars are... No, hang on. No. I won't concede. What I will say is that the cars are the problem. The track isn't the problem. The cars are the problem. It's not Monaco's fault.
Yeah. No, I'm willing to concede where the blame lies in all of this, certainly. And that it is, the cars are too big to go around that turn. And the fact that they get around that hairpin is just unbelievable to me. Look, I'm looking forward to Saturday Monaco, and I appreciate massively the amount of skill involved, and it is quite cool, all the history and stuff that's there. If we could find a way through cloud seeding or something to make sure that there was always a 75% threat of rain during the race at Monaco, I think the whole situation changes. Because, or if we can even fabricate Monaco having to be a two-stop, So let's bring strategy into it.
So what you're saying is you've been on F1 TV, you've looked at the historic races, and you want 1996 Monaco year after year after year after year. When let me just... Are you aware of 1996 Monaco?
I'm not aware of 1996 Monaco.
I'm not a weather person, but if I were to be a weather person, I would describe the weather that day as it pissed it down. And it was rather soggy. And if I just run up kind of from last place through to first, I'll give you an idea as to how this kind of happened. So Andrea Montemini, he crashed in the warm-up. Jos Verstappen was in an accident. Giancarlo Fisichella collided. Pedro Lamy collided. Rubens Barrichello spun off. Michael Schumacher crashed. Yukio Katayama crashed. Ricardo Rosset crashed. Pedro Diniz's gearbox died, as well as Gerhard Berger's. Martin Brundle crashed. Damon Hill's engine exploded. Jean Alesi hit the wall and suspension failed. Luca Badoa had a collision. Jacques Villeneuve crashed. Eddie Irvine crashed. Mika Hakkinen crashed. Mika Salo crashed. And Heinz-Harald Frentzen stopped in the pits. So therefore, 3 cars crossed the line that day in Monaco. 3 cars completed the 75 laps, and they were Johnny Herbert, David Coulthard, and Olivier Panis in a Ligier Mugen Honda. And it was such a strange, peculiar day that even though Mika Hakkinen, Mika Salo only completed 70 of the 75 laps, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen completed 74 of the 75, they all scored points because none of the other buggers could get round.
What an afternoon.
Beautiful. The greatest days of Formula One history.
So I don't know if I need to go quite that far with my desires on it, because then what I'm going to see is a hell of a lot of safety carring and a hell of a lot of red flagging. It's going to take 9 hours, which I know it can't because there's limits and whatever.
Yes.
And I can't remember, was it 2 years ago or was it last year's Monaco where I've never heard a more excited Ted Kravitz about the presence of a cloud over a mountain.
Yeah.
And it's, if anything, I don't want it to get really soggy. I want it to get inters and then dry from inters, because that's...
Yeah, okay.
I want a Bernie Collins GP. I want someone on that pit wall for it all of a sudden to fall on the shoulders of one strategist who says, is it this lap or is it next lap? And if they get it right, they're going to gain 4 positions.
Yeah.
And if they get it wrong, they're going to lose 8 positions. And then that's going to happen again 10 laps later, because the rain, it was a shower that was hot and heavy and then went. How brave are we now to come off? I know I'm asking for like the world's perfect, most perfect race and all the rest of it. You're not going to get it. But I think that highlights that, my issue with Monaco is not Monaco. It is probably the cars. But Sport v Show, I watch it because I want to be. I watch all sport because I want to be entertained. And yeah, I'm not suggesting that we turn the sprinklers on, but if I opened the curtains on Sunday in Monaco and went, "Ooh, she's grey and cloudy," my interest peaks considerably more.
I know what you mean. Have you ever been? How close have you been to one of these modern Formula One cars?
I did the Red Bull factory tour 4 years ago. And I don't think they've got much bigger in the last 4 years. So I've seen them.
They are bigger than most kind of family cars that you would see cruising up and down the motorway in the UK at the moment. Like they are enormous, and I guess there's so much technology and stuff in it that needs it to be that large. But yeah, Monaco's not going to get wider, is it? Let's be honest. I mean, we're pretty set in stone there. They only have a very kind of finite amount of space to operate in.
And I think they're losing some to the sea, aren't they? Isn't the sea coming?
Yeah, is it? I don't know. It depends how hard you rub it.
I think it's on its way.
But anyway, make the cars smaller. We'll talk about special livery. Special livery seems like a nice place to start next, but maybe we need special Monaco cars. Just smaller versions.
Go-karts. In Monaco, they all go in go-karts.
Maybe slightly bigger, but you're on the right track.
Be such a good 90 minutes if I have Fernando chasing Max Verstappen in a little go-kart.
In a 30-mile-an-hour rental go-kart up the hill.
With horns. They need horns or proximity chat. And then what we've got there is,
F124.
Look, I'm an ideas guy. Sue me.
It's terrible. Move on.
Liveries. We've got one and sort of 0.1 of one. We'll discuss the big one first. McLaren have done it properly. It's a Senna-inspired, Australian one-day international kit-inspired.
Yeah.
Green and gold. Beauty.
It's not the greatest McLaren special livery of all time.
No, that's the Golf one. But
however, what I will say is they haven't done any of this little kind of like, we've built the McLaren here and it's this and this is what we've got. And then they've kind of got the end of it and they've gone special livery, and what they've done like like one of those Ferraris. They've just kind of gone, got the paintbrush out and just gone, done. They've gone, fuck it. The whole thing's changed. All of it.
Yeah, which I don't think your design needs to be outrageous if you're going all in on how much of it there is.
Yeah, make it all pink.
And we don't have a yellow car on the grid currently, so it's going to bloody stand out. And yeah, I mean, it looks a little bit like, and I understand I might annoy some people here because I assume it is largely based on the livery that Senna, raced in as opposed to just being his colours. No?
No.
It looks a little bit like an F124, like my team base livery in that it's got a slanty line that divides the two colours.
Yeah.
But if you're going to go hard, and they've gone hard. And for that, I think we applaud them. Oscar's got a matching helmet, which is, again, it's Senna's helmet. Lando's got a helmet coming that he's not released. Just said he's going to have one, but we haven't seen it when we're recording this, and I assume it's probably going to look very similar to Oscar's.
Oscar's helmet genuinely looks like he's raided Lewis Hamilton's wardrobe from about 2013. And he's literally been rummaging around the back of the McLaren kind of showroom or whatever he has at wherever they are in the UK, Banbury or something, and he's just kind of found some boxes marked LH, and he's just gone, oh,
that would do.
Wonder if that fits. Tried it on, works. And he's gone, guys, special helmet,
special one. I imagine we will probably see some more Monaco special helmets before we get to the race weekend.
Hamilton likes a Monaco helmet.
Okay.
Hamilton likes a Monaco helmet. I'm sure in that he's had.
Has he had one this year?
I don't think he has. No.
Oh, he's due.
He ran one the year that they lost Niki Lauda, or the year afterwards. He's definitely run one which has had like various Diamante kind of sparkly twinkling effects in there. So I don't know. Maybe keep a little eye out on LH44.
There you go. We'll have a squizzy. And then Williams have got 0.01% of a special Monaco livery because they've stuck not the Energizer Bunny, they've stuck the Duracell Bunny on the top of it, near the best bit of F1 branding to ever exist.
Yeah,
and I think we both universally absolutely love it.
I think it's fantastic. I think is the pink stripe new as well?
You're saying pink stripe. I hadn't even noticed a pink stripe.
Well, if you look at said bunny, there's kind of like almost what looks like an extension of the pink stripe coming from the pink bunny's ear down the back through the fist, and then kind of continues on down the little nosy part down towards those wishbones. And there's a little bit of pink actually underneath the komatsu, running from the rear wheel down along almost like mirroring up to the floor of the car. I just wonder whether there might be a little bit extra going on there. So maybe it's not 0.001, maybe it's 0.002.
Well, I can tell you, looking at the normal livery that they ran in Imola, it's a white sort of triangle. That's where the bunny would usually be. So whether that's got any extra jazz. And then on the floor, it's a white and a red stripe. So it might just be that render merging them together.
Yeah.
Or they might have pinked it up. But yeah, I mean, it's adorable. It's a nice little addition. It's hard to criticize it, really. I think it's a really nice. I said this to you before. It's better than what Ferrari did.
Yeah.
And they've done so much less, so much more effectively by just putting a cartoon bunny on the side of it, because it's eye-catching, it's a point of difference, they've not tried too hard with it, and they haven't bigged it up. They put one tweet out that said, hey, we've got a new face on the car this week, and then a day and a half later, it's the Duracell bunny.
Yeah.
Great. And we learnt together today that the Energizer bunny is a different kind of bunny, but that one's naked and just has flip-flops on, and the Duracell bunny has got some pride and puts a shirt and shorts on.
Good for Duracell.
Yeah.
Good for Duracell.
Right, just before we box off Monaco then, it's the big one. Who's getting a blue flag from you in Monaco? Mr. Jads?
I'm doubling down. I'm doubling down on Charles.
Oh, okay, back to back.
Charles loves a Monaco fuck-up.
Home race.
So give me another one.
Okay. I've got two words for you. Synonymous with Monaco and memeing. Lance Stroll. You can't tell me he doesn't end up in the sea at some point.
See, at this point here, this just feels like bullying.
Don't put it in the sea then, Lance. If you don't give me a reason to pick you, I'm not going to pick you.
Christ, he's such a pointless Formula One driver as well, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't know how well they know their upgrades. Obviously, Fernando didn't have a great time of it in Imola. And they've not had a history recently of bringing upgrades that have actually worked. And I don't think Lance had himself a wonderful time around Imola. And I can just see him making a stupid mistake and ending up at a 90-degree angle into a wall that he should have been parallel to. And I can see that. I can see that happening.
You haven't got the most creative imagination, have you?
I mean, I can picture it very vividly. My mental image of what I'm picturing is detailed and crisp and rich in colour.
Yeah, 4K.
But I wouldn't have said that I've made up the most... I mean, there's no aliens and stuff. There's no... it's not a Kraken coming out of the... just before they come into the tunnel.
Just a massive octopus tentacle coming out of the harbour.
But what I can see with all of the 8K clarity in the world, and it's Lance Stroll facing the wrong way at some point. So,
oh, goodness me.
Right. Bit of driver news, rumour potentially. We don't like to delve too much into rumours on the pod. We like to speak in facts largely, but some of them seem to make a lot of sense to the point that I could maybe believe them if they're now being talked about. Valtteri to Williams, and the latest name to be linked with Haas is Yuki Tsunoda.
The last we spoke about Valtteri was, I think, somewhere along the lines, and I think we ended up both being in agreement of it, is that we wouldn't have been surprised if Valtteri had kind of hung up the cycling shorts and just started kind of making homebrew coffee or something somewhere in Scandinavia. But do you know what? I think Formula One's a better place for having Valtteri in it. I think he's fantastic. I think he's a great character. There was a little clip, I think, of old Daniel Ricciardo saying about the most stylish and saying, well, I don't necessarily think Valtteri's everybody's taste, but he's doing everything he wants to do and therefore he rates it. And you have to respect it. And I like
and he's a good driver.
He is a fantastic driver. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, we saw what he did in that dominant Mercedes, right? He was pushing Lewis Hamilton a lot of the time. Didn't always beat him, but he was there with Lewis Hamilton. The guy knows how to drive a car. Apologies, but considerably better than Logan Sargent. He's not being able to show it right now because the car that he's in is dog dirt, but he is a very good driver. And I actually think an Albon-Bottas combo, I can see that if they can get 26 right, and I'm certain that if they are signing Bottas, they're going to put him on a 3 or 4 year deal because they're going to try and take him into 26 because they're kind of going all in on the new regs at Williams.
Yeah.
Because they've admitted they've given up this year and next year in the quest for 26.
Yeah.
If they can find something and they can rock up in 26 with a decent enough car and then a very solid driver pairing of two experienced good drivers in Albon and Bottas, I mean, I'm not going to say they're going to suddenly be podium jobs, but I think it would suddenly become confusing that you're seeing a Williams out of the points, which would be a very good thing for the sport, I think.
So he started his career at Williams, if you throw that far back through to 2013. And actually, when you look at the results, and I've just double-checked them here because I didn't know the exact... I knew he did well, but I didn't know how well he had done at Williams in those years. But 14 and 15, he finished 4th and 5th in the World Drivers' titles. In a Williams, which needs to be said out loud, which then obviously led to that move to Mercedes. But the 2014 season, he had 2 second places, 4 thirds, and the fastest lap in 2014 for Williams. So, if James Vowles is to be believed, and they are kind of creating this supercar for 2026, could be stars lining up for Valtteri and Williams again.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go. That's all I've got to say is let's go. And then the other one, I mean, everyone at this point seems like they've been linked with that second Haas seat. But Yuki to Haas, it's a bit of an odd one. But what it would do, I would say, is sort of save Daniel Ricciardo's job for another year. Because then I think that frees up the question of, are they going to then... Well, they're going to want to bring Liam Lawson in, aren't they? Because they're terrified about losing Liam Lawson. He's got that clause that everyone seems to know all the details of.
Yeah.
So Yuki chooses to move away from the Red Bull program to go and join Haas. I think as a bit of a placeholder until he'll eventually join Aston Martin in 26 when Honda get there, I think is what everyone sort of sees the stars aligning on.
Yeah.
But
they're two car brands that you kind of talk about in the same sentence quite regularly, aren't they?
Yeah. No.
What have you bought this week? I've bought an Aston Martin Honda. All right. Yeah.
As you do.
James Bond hopping out of the Honda Jazz at the Monte Carlo casino. Don't think so. Sorry.
See it for an ad campaign.
Tangents.
But I think it might just save Daniel Ricciardo's job because then they can bring Liam Lawson in. And Liam Lawson, and I know it's a lot of PR bullshit, but Liam Lawson spoke to the value that Daniel Ricciardo brought. When he broke his hand and Liam jumped straight in the car, there was a lot of chatter about how much work Daniel Ricciardo is still doing in helping the team and Lawson with insight, and they've spoken about that a number of times. That if you can bring Lawson in and keep Ricciardo there, Ricciardo's almost playing a mentor role. He's a captain coach at that point.
Yeah.
He's in the other car, but he's letting Lawson properly find his feet. And then, Daniel's 34, nearly 35. I know that F1 drivers, you look at, Fernando and whatever. Daniel's not going to do a Fernando Alonso. He's just not going to, it's not going to happen. So he can have a couple of years mentoring Liam Lawson, and then he can go and just play with Scotty James or whatever he wants to do with Enchanté outside that. But
yeah,
I think it would make a lot of pieces fall into place, I think, if Yuki moves from there. And then I think we would see we'll have a pairing next year, won't we, of Behrman and Tsunoda at Haas, which would be quite interesting.
Yeah, it would be an interesting kind of setup, wouldn't it? I don't see Red Bull massively interested in Yuki Tsunoda. I just don't think they will. I think now that they're obviously going to move away from Honda and going to Ford, or have gone to Ford, their kind of interest in Yuki Tsunoda has diminished rapidly, hasn't it? And when you watch those support races of the Formula One at Imola over the weekend, and you watch the Formula 2 race, and you think Formula One's bad when there's one Red Bull running around at the front, and when you look at that and you've got 9 of them at the top of the charts, you go, Oh, so Red Bull have got options.
Yeah.
Liam Lawson is definitely the next cab off the rank. I mean, he's there every weekend with them. He does so much social media stuff for Alpha Tauri or whatever they're called now, and Red Bull. It would be mind blowing if it wasn't him in one of those cars. And yeah, Yuki's probably going to have to find a new home because I don't necessarily think Red Bull are even going to want him in the car. Or
no,
the
I think
car.
no one has really talked about it. That all that chat is on the pressure for Daniel Ricciardo, and is he going to keep his seat and is he going to move to Red Bull and whatnot? And what's almost gone under the radar there is that people forget the value of Daniel Ricciardo as Daniel Ricciardo and how much Christian Horner likes Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah.
And so, okay, Yuki has objectively scored more points and driven better this year, but he's not as exciting. He's not as marketable. And obviously Christian Horner, and probably to an extent Helmut Marko as well, don't rate him as a bloke in the same way, if you like. That I could see a situation where if they had to make a decision, they actually went, we want to hang out with Daniel more. So see you later, Yuki. We're going to bring Liam and Daniel in and we're going to run a full Anzac team and go that way. I can see that happening. So yeah, there's the next couple of weeks as we, I know we're not quite at the summer break yet, but as we head towards summer break, I think it's going to start to get a little bit, I think that we had a lull, didn't we, of driver market movement.
Yeah.
And then I think there might be a few T-shirt swaps over the summer break, I reckon.
Yeah, hopefully as well, before too long, we'll learn a little bit more about Carlos Sainz as well, because the longer that goes on, the more worried I am that we might be Carlos Sainz-less for a season or two or something, which I hope we don't get to, but we shall see. Anything more you want to talk about with Monaco on the horizon, or do you just want to we'll come back in a week's time and agree that it's the greatest Formula One circuit of all time?
We will come back in a week's time, sir.
Good. Right. Thanks for listening. Oh, no, I need to you do this other thing. Where can they find you, Alex?
Doy! They can find me on the internet. You can watch me play video games at twitch.tv/hey look, it's Alex. You can follow me on Insta if you want. Alex, type that. I don't put a huge amount of stuff on there. It's the same on Twitter as well. They can find Dan at DanJads_ on most things.
Yeah, most things. And I'm normally busy playing cricket, so just hanging out with Test Match Triple Centurions for the shits.
A lot of cricket. A lot of cricket content on there. And if you want to get involved with the show, at Lapdownpod on pretty much everything, or you can email lapdownpod@gmail.com.
See you in a week. Enjoy.
See you in a week.
Enjoy the Monaco.
I hope it rains.